It can't happen here. It can't happen here. I'm telling you, my dear, that it can't happen here.
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Hello, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve, and I'm kicking it here with my pal, Mr. Gopher. Say hi, Mr. Gopher.
Hi, Mr. Gopher.
As we continue with the January countdown to oligarchy, I am going to continue with the tag saturation, which was what Beer and Vinyl called it on his channel. So many tags, so little time. So I actually have the next 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks planned out. So next week I'm going to do Beer and Vinyl's prog rock progressive music tag, and the week after that I think I'm going to actually do the 20 question vinyl tag, which I am procrastinating because there's some kind of hard questions on this. But this week I'm going to do a tag dedicated to the man who tried to warn us 30, 40 years ago about where things were going. That is, of course, Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa vinyl tag, started by Calvinwazoo. I will put a link to his video in the description and the questions if you want to play along. But yeah, Frank Vincent Zappa, composer, guitar god, comedian, many things to many people. But without too much dilly-dallying, I am going to just get on these questions. There's how many questions? I don't know. I'm just going to go down the questions. All right. First question is, what is the first Frank Zappa album you ever heard? Well, here's the thing: is I'd heard bits of Frank Zappa on the radio and on compilations, and I was familiar enough with his work. And back in the early '80s, when I was in high school, most of his stuff was pretty hard to find. He was in legal battles with pretty much every record label he was on, and a lot of the major works were out of print. But for the first Frank Zappa album I ever heard, I am going to show the first Frank Zappa album I ever found and bought, because that would be the first album I listened to all the way through. And that is Uncle Meat by the Mothers of Invention, which in fine print it says, most of the music from the film that we don't have enough money to finish. And this is a weird and unusual one to start with. It's a double album. Has the original version of Mr. Green Jeans with vocals that resurfaced instrumentally on Hot Rats. It's got some really trippy instrumental compositions like Project X. It's got Dog Breath in the Year of the Plague, which is incredible. And the entire fourth side is the composition King Kong. And it's got a cool booklet. All right. So, yeah, this is a nice OG on the Bizarre label. This is the Bizarre label inner sleeve. It says, we make records that are a little different. You've got a repress or a reissue but you still need the OG. Now, when compact discs and digital recording emerged in the late 80s, early 90s, Mr. Zappa did kind of a George Lucas, remixed all of his stuff from the original multi-tracks. So the CD versions and later pressings have noticeable differences, sometimes radically different from the original albums. But anyway, this question is you've got a reissue, but you don't have the OG, and you'd like to have the OG. And for that, I'm going to say, Shake Your Booty. When I was in high school, I had a copy of Shake Your Booty on loan from somebody that I listened to constantly. I gave it back, and I never bought my own vinyl copy of it, but I did get the Rykodisc CD, just for the convenience of having it all on one disc. It's got some musical genius tracks like Rubber Shirt and Your Mama, but then it's got some raunchy stuff like Broken Hearts Are for Assholes and Bobby Brown Goes Down, and kind of the classic late 70s with Adrian Belew in the band. But yeah, don't have a vinyl copy of this. I just got the CD. All right. Next question. An album by an artist on the list. What list? Well, the Freak Out list, of course. On the first Mothers of Invention album, Freak Out, there was a list of a bunch of different names, some musicians, some just friends of theirs, but it was a list of their influences. So this question is to show an album by one of the music artists on the list, on the Freak Out list. And I've got a few. I'm going to show a few. Of course, Frank Zappa's favorite classical composer is Edgar Varese. And he also mentions the composer Pierre Boulez. And Boulez also had a career as a conductor in between composing his avant-garde works. So this is a record of Pierre Boulez conducting Edgar Varese, and it's got the piece Ionization, which was one of the pieces that was a big influence on Frank. Columbia Masterworks. In the list, there is not only Ravi Shankar, but also the tabla player Chatur Lal. So here's a record, Music of India, Ravi Shankar, with Chatur Lal on tabla. This is an early record on Angel, monophonic pressing. Eric Dolphy, the great jazz bass clarinet, flute, and alto player who left us way too soon. And the masterpiece album, Out to Lunch, one of the cornerstones of experimental jazz. If you're a Frank Zappa fan and you don't have this record, what are you doing with your life? Next question. An 80s album by an artist who played with Zappa. Okay, well, I got a couple. From 1980, this is Civilized Evil by Jean-Luc Ponty, one of two violin players, along with Sugarcane Harris, who plays on the Hot Rats album. Jean-Luc Ponty did a record of Zappa compositions, which I don't have. So I'm showing this one, because I do have this one. And Adrian Belew, Twang Bar King. Adrian Belew played with Zappa like on Chic Your Booty, and he went from there to playing with Bowie to being the front man for the reformed King Crimson. But yeah, Adrian Belew. All right. Da, 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 da.
I'm a moron, and this is my wife. She's frosting a cake with a paper knife. I'm a moron, and this is my wife. She's frosting a cake with a paper knife. I'm a
Well, since this is a Zappa video, I've been meaning to show this CD on a compact disc corner. I'm just going to put it in this video. This is the Ed Palermo Big Band. Take Your Clothes Off When You Dance. What they do is big band arrangements of Frank Zappa compositions. I think they have several albums out, but this is the one I have. But yeah, Take Your Clothes Off When You Dance, Redunzel, Dwarf Nebula, Sleep Dirt, Gumbo Variations, and this is a promo. It's got a sticker with suggested radio tracks. It's on the Cuneiform Records label. And what year did this come? 2006 this was released. But yeah, Ed Palermo Big Band.
Oh yeah, that's just fine. Come on, boys. Just one more time.
Next question. A posthumous, I think the correct pronunciation is posthumous, but I like saying posthumous because it makes, why not? A posthumous release that you rank among your top 10 favorites. All right. This was a record store day thing a few years back. Lumpy Gravy Primordial. And you might be familiar with the album Lumpy Gravy, which came out after We're Only In It For The Money. And it was instrumental, orchestral music with little spoken word bits kind of cut in and out of it. And originally, Frank was looking for a loophole. He made this record for Capitol Records, and he figured if he made a record that he composed and conducted but did not play on, that he could find a loophole, that he could go outside his contract with MGM and record this album for Capitol. A few copies of the original Lumpy Gravy leaked out on 4-track tapes, the precursor to 8-track tapes. But this is the original version of Lumpy Gravy that was all instrumental, orchestral music without any of the spoken word bits, just the all music version. And this is a beautiful package, cut at 45 for extra good sound quality. Nice red vinyl. Beautiful record, beautiful record. So yeah. Favorite posthumous box set, and that would have to be leather, triple CD with a booklet, and this was another product of a contractual dispute. Frank was trying to get out of his contract with Warner Brothers in the late 70s. Wanted to put out a 4-record box set to cover the 4 albums he still owed them. There were promo copies that did get played in the radio, but Warner Brothers said, whoa, buddy, no. You need to release 4 separate albums. So this material became Studio Tan, orchestral favorites, Sleep Dirt, and Zappa in New York. But this 3D set is an approximation of the original 4-record set, how it would have been sequenced. Next question. You hate it, but you own it because it's Zappa. Well, I don't really hate this next record I'm going to show. I kind of enjoy it, actually. But I could see a hardcore Zappa freak owning this for that reason. And that would be Good Singin', Good Playin' by Grand Funk Railroad. Produced by Frank Zappa in 1976. And they were going to break up. Grand Funk was going to break up, and Frank was a fan, and he offered to produce a record for them if they stayed together. Kind of similar to what Bowie did with Mott the Hoople. But yeah, this is an interesting record. It's got a little bit of Ted Nugent disease, like the song Don't Let 'Em Take Your Gun. It's got Can You Do It, which I think was the single. They were trying to have another like retro kind of hit like Locomotion. And the song Out to Get You, which features a nice ripping solo from Frank himself. And yeah, I mean, I can hear the Zappa influence. It's a little more smooth sounding than a lot of Grand Funk albums. There's some harmony singing that kind of reminds me of like Flo and Eddie era Mothers. But yeah, meathead rock record that I could see a more refined Zappa fan kind of just grudgingly needing this in their collection. Moving right along to the next question. Your favorite unusual release, copy, or artifact? And I could have gone in a bunch of different directions, but just for the sake of vinyl community and record collectors and what people who watch me will find most interesting, and also something that sparked a lot of joy because I actually found this in a thrift store. It was a total score. This is my vinyl copy of Absolutely Free. And you must buy this album now. Top 40 radio will never, ever play it. Buy this thing. Truer words have never been spoken. But this is unusual because it's a white label promo and it's in mono. Next question. A release that showcases your favorite Zappa drummer. And I don't really have a favorite. They're all good in their own ways. And I don't have Missing Persons, so I can't really Terry Bozzio. But I'm going to use this question to bring a couple of things to your attention. A couple of 60s bands that came out of the Zappa-verse. First of all, Rhinoceros. I learned about this band, Rhinoceros, from the liner notes of Uncle Meat, where they said, our drummer quit to join Rhinoceros. And Rhinoceros is kind of a super group on Elektra Records, and Billy Mundy, the original Mothers of Invention drummer, was in this band. They were kind of a one-hit wonder. The instrumental song Apricot Brandy was a hit. And then later on, Three Dog Night covered their song I Will Serenade You. But they're kind of an underrated band. So yeah, these Rhinoceros records turn up pretty cheap. I think they have 3 albums. I have 2 of them. But yeah, another Zappa drummer, Ainsley Dunbar. Ainsley Dunbar was in a lot of bands. I mean, he was in Zappa. He was in Jefferson Starship. I think he was in Journey for a minute. But his first band, the Ainsley Dunbar Retaliation, was a blues rock band. I don't have the original. The original copies of this had a really psychedelic cover, but this is like the French version on the sketchy BYG label. But yeah, if you're a fan of any of that blues rock, early Fleetwood Mac, 10 Years After, etc., check out the Ainsley Dunbar Retaliation. And he was the drummer with Zappa during the kind of Billy the Mountain, just another band from LA period. And it's not on this record. I think it was just a single. But Ainsley Dunbar Retaliation had a song called Warning, which was turned into a 10-minute long epic by Black Sabbath. But my feelings were a little bit too strong, just a little bit too strong. Okay. And like I said, I hate these questions that are like, what's your favorite? Because that changes. But favorite release out of Zappa's entire massive catalog. Well, I'm going to say that this is my favorite because this was the one I used to just never shut the fuck up about when I first got it and was listening to it all the time. And it just drove all my friends crazy. And that is, We're Only in It for the Money. The psychedelic concept album kind of response to Sgt. Pepper with this brilliant satirical cover. But is it phase 1 of Lumpy Gravy? I don't know. But this has got Flower Punk, Who Needs the Peace Corps, Mom and Dad, which is a pretty chilling song about police brutality, and the Chrome-Plated Megaphone of Destiny, a great avant-garde piece that closes this record out. And yeah, he's calling out the hippies for their hypocrisy in Alvin Chipmunk harmonious voices, as only Zappa would do. And that is the Frank Zappa vinyl tag. Check out the original video. Let me know what some of your favorite Zappa stuff is in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Peace.
Yeah.